Well, good morning, everyone. What a beautiful day it is here at NASA Ames. We're so glad you joined us. I'm Michelle Johnson, the Ames Communications Director here. On behalf of NASA, we are delighted to have all of you join us here in the live audience, as well as those of you online, as we announce this very special initiative that has the potential to advance innovation and inspire the next generation. We have 3 speakers joining us today who will give remarks. From NASA, we have Ames Center Director, Dr. Eugene Tu. From University of California, Berkeley, Chancellor Carol Christ. And we have SKS Partners co-founder and managing partner, Dan Kingsley. Thank you all for being here today. And thank you all for joining us today. Regrettably, Congresswoman Eshoo and Congresswoman Lofgren were not able to join us, as they are needed back in DC for the work of the people. Following remarks from our speakers, we'll take questions from the media who are joining here live as well as online. For media in the room, we'll also make speakers available for questions after the briefing. Before our speakers share their remarks and the news of the day, it's my privilege to welcome Dr. Saul Perlmutter, a Nobel laureate who won the prize in physics in 2011. Dr. Perlmutter will share some perspectives on research and innovation to set the stage of the importance of today's news. Dr. Perlmutter.
Well, good morning, and it's wonderful to be here in Moffett Field today for this announcement. As a scientist and a citizen, I'm personally excited to see the new work and the new ideas that will come out of this meeting of the university and its students and faculty with government and industry in this novel conception of a shared nexus. I thought it would be good today to just say a few words about the role of this endeavor's interests and priorities in the world today. I always find myself wondering, what is it that aeronautics, aviation, space exploration, and then for that matter, my own particular involvement in the space sciences and AI and cosmology, what is it that they offer our students, our government, and industry partners, and the larger world? And I mean, first, there are obvious, huge benefits to society that come from all the practical results of training a generation of skilled engineers and scientists and bringing them together with leading government and industry researchers. They create things like the world of rapid communications, of satellites, of air transportation, not to mention GPS and laser technologies and new energy sources. And we are potentially entering a new phase of design and experimentation, aided by our new uses of artificial intelligence to multiply and accelerate our engineering and modeling. Now, my own research has not been targeting practical problems. I've been part of this community of scientists who have been trying to chart out the history and origins of the universe. Less practical. The research that I was engaged in, and it led to that surprising result that the universe was expanding at an ever faster and faster rate. That research benefited, though, from a team drawn from just the kind of more practically skilled engineers and scientists, students and professors who will be working here in the near future. Clearly, this will be an exciting source of shared interests between this new grand venture and the Berkeley campus mothership, including its space sciences laboratory. Now, but along with these applied science and basic science results, there's also something else that these fields of interest in particular might offer in a world that is often riven apart by polarization and historical conflict, both domestically and internationally. This is because aeronautics and aerospace, space sciences, and cosmology are some of the emblematic fields of collaborative achievement. They need collaboration, people who come from all over to work together, sharing expertise and ideas. So what can humans do when they come together to solve problems rather than struggling with each other? They can fly, they can go to the moon, they can begin to decipher a Big Bang universe. So My hope today for this exciting new project is that it gets to play a role in teaching a next generation to work together to solve big problems with the aspiration towards the amazing world that we know we can live in, where all are cared for and all can thrive. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Perlmutter. Thank you so much for that moving insight, and you captured so wonderfully the impact of research and innovation on our lives and the power and promise of people coming together for a common goal. Well, we'll now move into the news of the day. Dan, why don't you get us started with what we've all come to hear today?
Thank you, Michelle. It's quite a transition to go from billions of light years, Dr. Perlmutter, to 36 acres at Moffett Field, but I'll try. It's very gratifying for everyone at SKS Partners to be here after 4 years of work with UC Berkeley and with NASA. We've had an amazing relationship with the University of California, Berkeley, and the strength of that relationship was exemplified during the creation of a name and a logo for this project that reflects the aspirations of both partners. The academic and research goals of the Berkeley Space Center are an essential element of the joint venture that we have with the University of California, Berkeley. So it is my honor to introduce Chancellor Carol Christ.
Thank you, Dan. This is an extraordinary day for UC Berkeley, for our academic mission, and for the public that we serve. The planned expansion of Berkeley's physical footprint and academic reach represents a fantastic and unprecedented opportunity for our students, faculty, and staff. We're thrilled by the prospect of new collaborations that can speed the translation of research discoveries into the inventions, technologies, and services that will advance the greater good. This is a prime location and prime time for this public university. On behalf of the campus community, I want to thank Professor Perlmutter for his moving and welcome words that remind us of the sobering contemporary context for this project and its highest purposes. We also wish to express our appreciation and gratitude to Eugene Tu, the director of the NASA Ames Research Center, and to Dan Kingsley, the managing partner of SKS Partners. Over the course of recent years, this project has benefited from and has been propelled by the hard work, dedication, and creativity of your teams. The quality and outcome of our collaboration to date bodes extremely well for the future prospects of the Berkeley Space Center. And while they were not able to be with us today, we're grateful for the support that the Berkeley Space Center has received from Governor Newsom, as well as Congresswoman Anna Eshoo and Representative Zoe Lofgren. At its heart, this endeavor is a resounding vote of confidence in the power and purpose of academic research and education in California and the Bay Area's enduring spirit of innovation and entrepreneurship, and in the societal benefits that can be achieved when the academy, government, and the private sector join forces to expand the frontiers of knowledge and possibility. This is a wonderful neighborhood with ample room for a second world-class university and a pressing need for a palette that includes not just red, but a little blue and gold as well. May the Golden Bears thrive in their new home away from home in Silicon Valley.
The San Francisco Bay Area has offered the world endless possibilities since 1849. Over 174 years later, the Bay Area remains a beacon that attracts forward-thinking people who are determined to shape a better future for humanity. That combination is why the world's greatest ideas still come from the Bay Area and disproportionately from the Silicon Valley. The Silicon Valley is the world's preeminent center for innovative technology, and it has been for over 75 years, which is why there are so many other places in the world that want to create the next Silicon Valley. And while that ambition is admirable, there is still only one Silicon Valley. And there is still only one University of California, Berkeley, which is consistently ranked among the 4 top research universities in the world and the top public university in the United States. And of course, we know there is only one NASA, the preeminent space agency in the world responsible for the greatest achievements in space exploration. So when the University of California, Berkeley and NASA combine their research brilliance in the geographic center of the Silicon Valley, they will produce a critical mass of talent that will accelerate the aerospace industry. From urban air mobility to satellite remote sensing, the research from the University of California, Berkeley and NASA will change the world and attract pioneering companies to the Berkeley Space Center. It's now my pleasure on behalf of our joint venture to share our vision for the Berkeley Space Center, the world's new home for the private space industry. The Berkeley Space Center is currently planned for 1.4 million square feet of research and development buildings on 36 acres. The University of California, Berkeley is developing a robust series of workshops, symposiums, and other industry events at the Berkeley Space Center. Alex Bayan, Associate Professor for the Berkeley Space Center, is leading these efforts, and he will describe his vision during the question and answer session. We're here today to celebrate the next step in realizing the 20-year vision for a university-centered research and development campus to complement the NASA Ames Research Center. It's my honor to now introduce Dr. Eugene Tu, the director of NASA Ames Research Center.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Carol. Thank you, Saul. What an exciting time this is for NASA Ames. Reaching the milestone of kicking off this initiative with UC Berkeley has been over 20 years in the making, and is a testament to NASA's commitment to building partnerships that advance science and benefit humanity. I want to thank everyone here at Ames and at NASA headquarters who has worked on this project and helped us reach this point. It's thanks to the dedication and perseverance of many who have spent long hours so that this project could move forward. And although I've been leading this center for over 8 years now, I must also give due credit to previous Ames Center directors, including Dr. Pete Warden, Mr. Scott Hubbard, and the late Dr. Harry McDonald, who helped lay the foundation for what we're building and announcing today. I'd also like to acknowledge several of our guests from NASA headquarters. Assistant Administrator for Strategic Infrastructure, Dr. Joel Carney. Director of our Facilities and Real Estate Division, Dr. Eric Weiser. And from NASA's Aeronautics Research Mission Directorate, Dr. John Kowalowski, who serves as a director of the Transformative Aeronautics Concepts Program. Thank you all for your support. I'd also, of course, like to thank the Ames leadership team, many of who are in the audience here, for their support and steadfast commitment to this project. Ever since NASA took over stewardship of Moffett Field after the Naval Air Station was closed in the mid-90s, we have envisioned a major academic campus to complement the federal, industry, and academic research complex we are building right here in the heart of Silicon Valley. In many ways, this is one of the final major pieces of the puzzle that we have been looking forward to. Here at Ames, we are one of the original 4 NASA research centers, and we are chartered to advance world-class research in aviation, Earth, space, and life sciences, space exploration, and cutting-edge technologies to support NASA's mission to explore and to improve life here on Earth. We firmly believe that partnering closely with a leading educational institution like UC Berkeley will help us meet our goals for the future. Our NASA Research Park is already home to a satellite campus of Carnegie Mellon University, and Ames has a long history of partnering with the extensive academic community here in the South Bay area, including Stanford, San Jose State University, and UC Santa Cruz. We are excited about taking this step and hosting the Berkeley Space Center here on our site. And I must mention a family connection, since I realized, if you count me, my wife, and my oldest son, we've been at all 4 of these institutions throughout our educational career. In addition to our experts, we will look to leverage our world-class research facilities here at Ames, including our wind tunnels, thermal testing environments, flight simulators, supercomputers, and our engineering and science labs. Partnerships like what we're announcing today truly represent how NASA Ames will be supporting our missions of the future. These partners, located right here in the NASA Research Park, include other government labs, major universities, established high-tech industry, as well as new startups. Having begun my career as a student in mechanical engineering and interning right here at Ames nearly 40 years ago, I personally know how impactful it is to have opportunities to engage with experts and researchers, to receive their mentorship and guidance and their transfer of knowledge. The collaborations we're aiming for with the Berkeley Center will be a shining example of enabling and enhancing just this sort of exchange. For NASA, this partnership has the potential to help inspire not only the next generation of technologies and discoveries, but the next generation of explorers. The students of today who will be the future engineers, scientists, technologists, and business professionals in aviation, science, and space exploration. We look forward to seeing the role this new initiative could play in that landscape and to continue the journey together. Thank you.
What an exciting and beautiful vision of the future. Pushing boundaries and striving for new heights. Thank you all. Well, before we transition to questions and answers, Professor Perlmutter, we know you have to leave us, but thank you again for the time today, your support, and for setting the tone for today's exciting announcement. Now, I'd like to call a couple other members to the stage to join us for questions and answers. Associate Provost Alex Bayan and Executive Director Derek DeFries, the founder of this initiative. All right, so we have several reporters here in the audience and online as well. When it's your turn, please state your name, your media affiliation, and then direct your question to a member of our panel. So with that, we'll get started. So I will take the first question here. I see one right here in the right alley. Just wait for the microphone, please. Thank you.
Hi there, Zach Fuentes with ABC7 News. So can someone give us an overview of the timeline and some of the key milestones as we get towards completion of this, of it getting up and running?
The process that we are starting next month is to analyze any environmental impacts under state law. And that process will take approximately 2 years. During that time, the SKS team will be refining their marketing plan, meeting the companies that could become the tenants of this project, and at the same time working with our architectural engineering team to develop the plans for the first buildings. It's anticipated that that first building could begin construction within about 3 years.
Excellent, thank you. All right, we'll take another question from the live audience here. If you have a question, please raise your hand and we'll bring a microphone to you. Right over there on the left. Thank you, Arzu. And keep your hand up so she has a target. There we go.
Hi, my name is Sarah Clearman. I'm a reporter with the San Francisco Business Times. This may be for SKS partners, but I welcome anyone who wants to jump in. I'm wondering if someone can tell us a little bit about the estimated project cost and anticipated financing strategy, if you will, for this project.
We are in the Bay Area, so the project cost is quite high. It's estimated to be about $2 billion at full build-out. And the financing for the project will evolve by phase. So you will have your normal construction debt along with your equity that is required.
All right, thank you. I'll take another question here before we go online. Our online reporters, if you could add your questions to the Q&A sheet. And we have one right here, third row on the right-hand side. Thank you, Arzu.
Hi, Chase DeFelice Antonio with the San Francisco Chronicle. Of the about 36 acres and all the buildings you showed up there, any idea how much of that is going to be occupied by UC Berkeley folks and how much is going to be occupied by companies that you all bring in? And an addendum to that, any particular companies showing interest at this early stage?
Thank you for the question. We actually do have already some indicated interest. UC Berkeley has a lot of industry relationships, but to go back to your initial question, we're estimating that approximately 10% of the occupying space will be consumed by UC Berkeley, but that isn't really where we stop. The intention really is to collaborate and cohabitate with industry partners that are going to be resident on the site. We want to make sure that those relationships are strong and that we can actually frame a whole network of collaboration from the companies that are on the site. So just to fine tune on the amount of R&D space that we anticipate, probably be about 1 million square feet that will be leased out to private industry.
All right, we'll take a question from online. What kinds of private sector tenants are you hoping to attract? And what criteria will you use to vet them?
We will be relying on our partners at the University of California, Berkeley to help us identify the emerging companies in the sub-industries that will be the tenants. Associate Provost Bayan will be able to describe in a minute the different research clusters that University of California, Berkeley is working on that are related to this site, as well as Dr. Tu could describe some of the work that NASA is conducting. But we anticipate that we will have a range of companies starting with urban air mobility, which is clearly a part of the industry that is growing rapidly, And there's a lot of work that takes place at both the University of California, Berkeley, and NASA related to that. But there are others. The USGS has a very significant presence here at Moffett Field, and they are one of the world's leaders in remote sensing, and that data is used by climate scientists, is used by people looking at the natural resources on Earth. So we anticipate that this is going to be a very broad selection of private industry working very closely with our two partners.
And just to complement what Dan Kingsley said, so the research programs at the university are organized around clusters. These clusters are centered around themes. I'll give you a few today: the future of green electric aviation, the future of mixed autonomy traffic operations, space robotics, remote sensing, as we just heard, firefighting, climate change, planetary sciences. I think what's very important to recognize is that once we start assembling tenants in this new Berkeley Space Center, they will have R&D teams that are crucially focused around key disciplines that advance each of these applications, in particular machine learning and artificial intelligence, data science, advanced robotics, computing, and many others.
And I could just add to that, and I mentioned in my remarks that we're one of the original research centers for NASA. And as such, we work in every part of the agency, which is not the case for all the centers. And so we support science, we support space exploration, we support aviation and aeronautics research, and we support technology development. And so this makes us a great partnership here because we have a visibility into all aspects of NASA's missions and programs. And we expect that this partnership will not only be with NASA Ames, but will open doors to other parts of NASA and other parts of the agency as well.
All right, thank you. All right, let's take another question from our live audience. Do I have a hand out there in the audience? There we go. On the left side, please. Thank you, Arzu. Just remember to state your name and your media affiliation, please.
Hi. Hi, I'm Andrew Mendez, the Silicon Valley Business Journal. In my work, just covering eVTOLs and urban air aviation, I know NASA has a huge partnership with AFWERX and the U.S. Air Force. I was wondering if any of the research going to be done here will actually contribute to those programs.
Yeah, I can mention from our perspective, bringing NASA's partners, in particular NASA Ames partners, together with the university partners is a major part of what this is about. And so, yes, we have partners with AFWERX, we have partners with industry, we have partners with the FAA, and the state of California has a strong interest in the future of revolutionizing the use of our airspace and eVTOLs and urban air mobility. And so these are areas that we certainly plan to bring to the table as part of this partnership.
All right, thank you. Well, they say timing is everything. Why is timing? What is the time now for this project? Why is now the time?
I'll let Derek and the Chancellor speak to the University of California's involvement, which has been many, many years. This is an ideal time for the Silicon Valley, for the Bay Area economy, because the private space economy is estimated by some organizations like the Bank of America as a $500 billion industry today, growing to over $1.1 trillion by the end of the decade. That is very significant growth. That means significant growth for the Bay Area economy, employment opportunities, as well as education opportunities through the University of California, Berkeley. Derek, do you want to?
And I'll invite the Chancellor to speak after this, but the timing is right for UC Berkeley because we are seeing now more than ever some strong interest in creating innovation spaces on our campus. This is not the only one. And the opportunity to be in the center of gravity in Silicon Valley to create an innovation center that is focused on the clusters that we all talked about absolutely feels right for UC Berkeley at this time. We are space constrained on our campus. We have run out of room, and so we need a place to grow so that we can continue to advance our projects and for the public good.
And I might add to what Derek said, in addition to the explosive interest in innovation and entrepreneurship on the campus, we have new undergraduate and graduate programs in aeronautics, aerospace, and incredible interest in space health or space medicine that's emerging on the campus. So it's a perfect time for the kinds of intellectual interests that are emerging on our campus.
And I'll just add, from a NASA perspective, the timing could not be better. We are at a major pivot point, if you will, in space exploration. Unlike the last half century, the future of space exploration is going to be much more dependent on and reliant on partnerships. If you look at the commercial space industry and how it's growing, and also in the academic sector. Also, as Chancellor mentioned, the new aerospace engineering program that Berkeley's established and the new College of Data Sciences. These are changes in technology, changes in the world that, and especially in the environment that NASA works in, that makes this perfect timing.
I might add, we have a new college at Berkeley, the first in over 50 years, CDSS, the College of Computing, Data Science, and Society, which is eager for the collaborations that bring to bear the extraordinary development of data science and artificial intelligence to all kinds of scientific problems.
Wonderful. The time is now. All right, I saw a couple other questions here, right here in the front row. Arizu, white shirt, thank you.
Hi, Matthew Brown with the Daily Californian. I was wondering if you could speak to how much housing you expect to be committed to UC Berkeley folks as compared to the amount of Berkeley people you intend to bring in.
So we have a ground lease with NASA. So not only are they our partners, but they are our landlord. We welcome that relationship. The ground lease currently contemplates 300 units of housing. That could be at market rate, but it also contemplates additional student and faculty housing. So we can and do intend to explore building student housing on the site to support the efforts here at NASA Ames. I wanted to mention that I think NASA Ames, correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Tu, but hosts approximately 900 students per year through internships. And we anticipate that some of those interns will be UC Berkeley interns. We're also contemplating teaching here. So part of our degree pathway in aerospace engineering might be a semester, instead of abroad, a semester in Silicon Valley. So we think there's going to be some really exciting and enticing opportunities for students to not only do their fundamental research here at NASA Ames, but also with neighbors around us. Silicon Valley is home to a number of tech companies and early startups as well. So what we're trying to do is open up the doors and open up opportunities for students to go to work for those companies and with those companies. Chancellor?
Yeah, I just want to add to what Derek said very well, is that we anticipate a kind of junior year abroad in Silicon Valley, opportunities for undergraduates and also opportunities for graduate students to engage in research and collaboration with NASA Ames, and to also have the opportunities for internships in the various companies that will occupy space here.
We actually brought a number of students with us here today, and we'd invite you to meet with them after. But they've already started. I mean, our students are incredible. There's a student here today who's already had one of their missions on the ISS. There are students here who plan to work for commercial space agencies. There's another student who continues his academic career. So it's really exciting to be a student at UC Berkeley right now because those partnerships have already started. We're not waiting for the first building to go up in 3 years. Maybe Associate Provost Bayan can comment on that.
Yeah, I think what we're really excited here is that we're really creating a learning and teaching environment and a research environment that just doesn't exist. It's hard to imagine any other place in the world where students can be on an airbase like here with such amazing research infrastructure. Not only that is already there with NASA, we heard we have the largest wind tunnel in the world, but also the ones we will build at the Berkeley Space Center. The diversity of talent we bring at Berkeley, but also the intermixing of that talent with the NASA research staff as well as the private sector tenants will bring. And finally, also a path to deployment and commercialization with the private sector. That type of ecosystem just doesn't exist today, and that's really what we're launching here at Berkeley with NASA.
Thank you.
And I guess I could add one more remark from NASA's perspective. The proximity and accessibility to students, to faculty, to resources and facilities is going to greatly benefit our role in supporting NASA's missions.
Wonderful. All right, there was one more hand I saw up over. Did we address that question? All right, let's see. We have another question from online. The project includes 18 acres of outdoor space. What is the logic of that decision?
The logic is very simple. With 36 acres, it's a lot of land for 1.4 million square feet. And so we have the opportunity to create fantastic open space, which we know from the historic Shenandoah Plaza is really enjoyed and valued by everybody who is here at the Ames Research Center as well as Moffett Field. And everyone learned some lessons during the pandemic that open space is a really important part of your health and your mental health. And we see that as an integral part of all of our projects.
If I might return to Professor Perlmutter's really inspiring remarks about collaboration. We know so much collaboration results from people bumping into one another. And I've been really struck by the intentionality of the design in regard to pathways and to people finding outdoor meeting spaces, bumping into spaces that really fuels scientific discovery and collaboration.
We call those accidental collisions, and I want to thank the team from HOK and the team from Field Operations who really put together that beautiful design. We know and we've seen that when you create spaces that have different elements from government, from academia, from private industry, that those accidental collisions are magnified. So I like to think about the partnership with NASA saying alone we can accomplish great things, right? By ourselves we can accomplish great things, but together we can accomplish heroic things. This is an opportunity for all of us to come together to do some heroic things.
Thank you. Let's stay on the facility. So according to the press release, the grounds and the buildings would serve as a test bed to pioneer and advance novel low-carbon design and construction practices. Can you talk about the underground up aspect and other sustainability components of the project?
So our Director of Development, Tim Smith, many years ago started talking about the opportunity here to develop a new project from the underground up. And I know PG&E has borrowed that phrase for their ads. But Tim's perspective is valuable. We have the opportunity to rethink how we use water, which we know is a scarce resource in California. Can we recycle more water and use that gray water for more than just irrigation and flushing toilets? Can we use it for cooling the mechanical equipment on the buildings? How can we design buildings that are more sustainable, use less energy, and once again provide a healthier environment for the people who are working inside? So we literally have a blank slate to work with here, and our goals at SKS Partners are consistent with the University of California, which has very strong sustainability goals that we're all going to work very hard to meet and see if we can advance our antiquated industry of the design and construction world into exploring what is really possible with new construction.
And if I can add to that, I want to say that the quest to sustainability is also something that will continue inside the buildings once the buildings are erected. There's a lot of interest in the College of Environmental Design at Berkeley to participate to this construction, but even beyond that, the research topics that we will be pursuing, such as firefighting, planetary sciences, climate change, and many other domains that are very close to what NASA is doing, also will pursue the quest towards establishing a more sustainable life on Earth.
And we at NASA will benefit from that as well, because there's no environment more requiring of sustainability than where we're looking to go in terms of low Earth orbit, outer space, and other planets.
So true. I'm looking around here for any questions from our live audience. Any hands? All right. Looks like we have another one from our live audience, Deborah Werner from Space News. Workforce development is a major concern for space companies and government agencies. How could this initiative impact workforce development?
I'll begin. The partnership between new industry and universities is so critical in workforce development. We think these new opportunities that we're providing for both undergraduates and graduate students will help produce the kinds of professionals of the future that companies are looking for.
And if I can add to that, first, we're not starting from scratch. We're really excited that there's NASA-affiliated staff already teaching classes at Berkeley, for example, data science and aviation. There's already Berkeley activities conducting workforce training in AI. We had this last month at NASA Ames. So we're not starting from scratch. It's also important to recognize that it's not just training the future workforce, it's also retraining the current workforce. See, aerospace engineers like myself that were trained in the late 90s maybe did not have the chance at the time to take machine learning, artificial intelligence, data science, computing, and space robotics. And for those of them who didn't stay connected with academia, this is an opportunity to come back, to come here to the Berkeley Space Center and be trained in these new disciplines that are changing, disciplines that are fundamental to the quest of space and aviation.
One of the things we anticipate is that University Extension, as well as our schools and colleges, will be providing programs at this location for working professionals.
Wonderful. All right, one last scan. Here we are. Thank you, Arzu. Third row. Thank you. Remind just to state your name and your affiliation. Thank you.
Hi, Chase DeFelice Antonio with the San Francisco Chronicle again. Can you talk a little bit more about the machine learning, artificial intelligence application here, both in terms of what you all are doing right now and how you hope to apply those technologies in the future in space?
The problems that are experienced both airborne and in space are very different than on Earth. For example, if you think about computing, you need to be certifiably executable. That means essentially you cannot reboot an aircraft while it's flying. If you work on different planets or if you work in the orbit, you have huge latency, you have very low bandwidth. You're doing computations on components that have to be radiation resistant because they're going to be exposed to radiations for sustained periods of time. All of these create new paradigms that have to be invented for computing both in space and airborne. And in addition, emerging new domains like we have seen generative AI, for example, are also changing the way human machines interact. And that is something that we expect to have a huge impact that we'll be working on as well. And I'll pass it to Director 2, who probably also has remarks on the NASA side.
Yeah, for NASA and for NASA Ames, we are wholly dependent on advances in machine learning and AI, and we've been working with that for quite some time. If you think about our missions and where they go, and as Professor Bayan mentioned, the time latency, even our human exploration missions in the future, when we are looking to be sustained on the moon and eventually onto Mars, they're going to require systems in a very different way than we operate today, where we have hundreds of people on the ground basically operating a space station that's in orbit. You can't do that when you're looking at the type of places we want to extend human presence to. So both from a scientific and robotic exploration perspective, and even from a human exploration perspective, and then also in aviation, the increases in AI, autonomy, and machine learning are going to be absolutely critical for our missions.
All right, we have one more question from our live stream from Emily Landis from The Real Deal. This is the money question. Could you speak more specifically about the financing for the first phase of development? Who is the financial partner on the development, and how difficult is it to find financing for a project of this size at this point?
Financing is never easy, but we are confident that the demand for this project will allow us to be able to sign leases in advance of constructing any of the buildings, which will make the financing much more manageable.
I think I can speak that from the UC Berkeley perspective. One of the things that we were very intentional about was to deleverage the risk, the financial risk from this project, and to So not only to make this about a public-private community coming together, but also from private financing, so that we could ensure that the public dollars that we put into this project are extremely intentional and that we're not putting the public's money at risk.
Excellent. Thank you so much. We've exhausted all the questions. Thank you all for joining us today. Before we conclude, I want to give our speakers a big round of applause for all their words of inspirement. Thank you each for sharing your vision of this really exciting endeavor, and today is and certainly one for the books. So that concludes today's briefing. For more information about NASA Ames and the materials that you've heard today, visit us at www.nasa.gov/Ames. Thank you all, and I wish you a lovely day.